The geography of South Korea. South Korea is an East Asian country that is located in the south of the Korean peninsula. North Korea borders the nation to the north, the Sea of Japan to the east, the East China Sea to the south, and the Yellow Sea to the west. To the southeast, the Korea Strait divides the nation from the Japanese island of Tsushima. On the peninsula, South Korea takes up around 45% of the land area. And what separates both countries is the Demilitarized Zone, or the DMZ. What comes to your mind when you think of South Korea? Let us know in the comments below. Most of South Korea is mountainous, with a few minor valleys and slender coastal plains. The Taebaek Mountains, which make up the primary drainage divide, extend from south to north along the eastern shore and northward into North Korea. South Korea has no tall mountains except for Mount Halla, which is 6,398 feet above sea level. Incheon, Seoul's entry port, has a maximum height of 30 feet. The Taebaek Mountains are the source of the three major rivers, Han, Kum, and Naktong, with only a few short, rapid rivers draining eastward. Most of the nation's rivers flow westward or southward into the Yellow Sea or the East China Sea. The Korea Strait is located 325 miles south of the longest river in South Korea, the Naktong River. How does this affect the climate of the region? Climate. The Korean Peninsula's proximity to the main Asian landmass has the biggest impact on its climate. In addition to creating the Northeast Asian monsoons that influence precipitation patterns, this results in the distinct summer-winter temperature extremes of a continental climate. As a result of the relative drop in continental influences in the latter parts, the yearly range in temperature is greater in the north and interior sections of the peninsula than in the south and along the coast. The geographic location of South Korea makes the region prone to flooding and typhoons. According to Kim Ji-hyen, the head of the Yoon Suk-yeol's People's Power Party in South Korea, the Jamboree's campsite might have been the best infrastructure if its massive budget had been executed properly. The ruling and opposition parties are engaging in the blame game that has entangled political parties. Undoubtedly, an audit will come next. Safety catastrophes have occurred frequently in South Korea. In 2014, the Seoul ferry capsized off the coast after becoming overloaded with cargo and then making an abrupt turn, killing more than 300 passengers, the majority of whom were children. Last year, during what was meant to be a night of Halloween festivities, a crowd crush in central Seoul resulted in the deaths of more than 150 young people. This incident was attributed to a number of causes, including a deficiency in crowd management and a subpar emergency response. The recent floods and landslides have claimed the lives of over 40 people, leaving thousands displaced and several missing. This led the South Korean government to declare a state of emergency in flooded areas, with the military at the helm of the rescue and relief operations. The floods have damaged several critical infrastructure like roads and bridges, isolating several individuals. Homes and businesses have also been destroyed. The floods are but a reminder of the vulnerability of the Asian nation to natural disasters, and its climate is characterized by a hot, humid summer and a cold, largely dry winter. Except for the southern coast, the coldest average monthly temperatures in winter are below zero. Seoul's average January temperature is in the low 20s degrees Fahrenheit, about 5 degrees Celsius, while Busan, on the southeast coast, experiences a similar average in the mid-30 degrees Fahrenheit, or 2 degrees Celsius. In contrast, summertime temperatures are generally consistent across the nation, with August, the warmest month, having an average monthly temperature in the high 70 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 25 degrees Celsius. Wild animal life is similar to that of northern and northeastern China. The most numerous larger mammals are deer. Tigers, leopards, lynx and bears, formerly abundant, have almost disappeared, even in remote areas. Except for the DMZ between North and South Korea, which has turned into a de facto nature sanctuary, many of South Korea's fish, reptile and amphibian species are threatened by intense farming and environmental degradation. The DMZ was formerly farmland before becoming a devastating battleground. Since hostilities ended, it has largely reverted to nature, making it one of the most pristine, unspoiled locations in Asia. Numerous ecosystems, including wetlands, estuaries, and woods visited by migratory birds, are present there. The area protects hundreds of bird species, including the imperiled red-crowned and white-naped cranes, and is also home to Asiatic black bears, lynxes, and other wildlife. Do you enjoy this kind of content? Please support us by subscribing to this channel. Now, let's go on. South Korean demographic. South Korea's 51.8 million people are predominantly Korean, with a few permanent inhabitants of Chinese ancestry. Foreigners, including Chinese, Japanese, and Americans, are increasing in larger cities. Korean is the native language for all Koreans, and the country has no official national religion. There is widespread religious tolerance in the country. Roman Catholic and Protestant missionaries first came to Korea in the late 18th century, making Christianity there rather recent. And Korean society has undergone significant development as a result of Christianity. South Korea's urbanization since 1960 has led to a loss of rural areas and the disappearance of traditional rural lifestyles. The largest city is Seoul, serving as the nation's political, economic, and cultural hub. South Korea's population doubled in the 20th century, but birth rates decreased and growth rates slowed by the 21st century. But the country's main demographic issues are urbanization and rural depopulation. With over 40% of the population urban, the country's population density is huge, nearly twice that of North Korea. That's largely due to the economic opportunities found in the big cities like the capital, Seoul. South Korean economy. South Korea's economy has grown significantly since the 1960s, transitioning from a poor agrarian society to a highly industrialized nation. This growth was primarily driven by export-oriented industries and skilled labor, aided by strong government support. The strategy targeted industries like textiles, light manufacturing, iron and steel, chemicals, and high-technology industries like automobiles, electronics, and information technology. The government imposed strict controls on industrial development, favoring large-scale chaebol projects. Privately managed industries became difficult to finance, leading to dependence on chaebol. Korea joined the OECD in 1996, achieving higher per capita GDP than neighbouring countries, currently at 35,000 per capita. However, economic difficulties often overshadow these achievements. Less than a fourth of the republic's area is cultivated, and the national income from agriculture has decreased. Farm productivity has been hampered by manual labour and animal power, and ageing rural populations have led to a farm labour shortage. However, productivity is improving with mechanisation, specialisation, and commercialisation. Rice, however, is the most important crop. But other crucial agro-products are dairy and livestock. Pork, beef, and milk are the next three most important agricultural products, behind rice. Even while the production of dairy goods and meat, particularly pork, increased from 1990 to the beginning of the 21st century, the number of livestock farms decreased. The consumption of dairy and meat increased at the same time. In formerly deforested areas, successful reforestation operations began in the 1970s. Fishing has become a substantial export and has historically been a key source of protein. And South Korea is one of the major deep-sea fishing nations today. Also well developed are inland aquaculture and coastal fisheries. Imports supply the majority of the nation's demands for metallic minerals, including iron ore and all of the country's needs for crude petroleum. More than half of the electricity generated is produced using the thermal electric power generation process. Since the first oil refinery began producing petroleum products in 1964, power plants have steadily switched from burning coal to burning oil. Only a minor part of all electricity is produced by hydroelectricity, and most of these stations are along the Han River, close to Seoul. However, the production of nuclear electricity has grown in significance. Chemicals, metals, equipment, and petroleum refining are examples of heavy industries with advanced technology. The shipbuilding, automobile, and electronic equipment industries, among others, became more significant in the late 20th century. These sectors are even more capital and technology intensive. High-tech industries like electronics, biotechnology, and aircraft received a lot of attention, and the service sector had significant growth. The development of information technology and the encouragement of venture capital investment are receiving more attention. While heavy industry is mostly centered in the southeast, with a concentration of steel producers in Pohang and Gwangyang in the southeast, heavy industry is primarily based in Seoul and the surrounding area. The official currency is the Korean won. The central bank of the nation, which issues currency and regulates all financial activities, is the government-owned Bank of Korea, which has its headquarters in Seoul. In the early 1960s, all banks were nationalized, but by the early 1990s, they had largely been returned to private hands. Both the federal government and local governments of South Korea impose taxes, which account for about 45% of total government revenue. Value-added tax generates the most revenue, followed by corporate income tax. The taxation of individual income, which is the third largest source of revenue, is progressive. The government offers limited time exemptions from a range of national and municipal taxes to certain foreign enterprises and investors as a tax incentive to draw foreign investment. Today, with a nominal GDP of $1.6 trillion, South Korea is the fourth largest economy in Asia and the 12th in the world. So the Army, Navy, and Air Force branches of South Korea's armed forces are all large and well equipped, although they are still far smaller than those of North Korea. There is a considerable reserve force in addition to the Army, which is by far the largest component. For all males, military duty is a requirement. The main military goal of South Korea is to prevent a North Korean assault. To that purpose, South Korea and the US have a 1953 Mutual Defense Treaty, and the US has a sizable military presence in the nation. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos. Stay tuned. Until next week.